Welcome to Conversations with Asha and Steve, where communication matters. Join us as we discuss effective ways to communicate, bridge the gaps, and build long-lasting relationships within your business and life. Here are your hosts, Asha Prasad and Steve Harper.
Hi, and welcome to Conversation with Asha and Steve. I am Dr. Asha Prasad, and with my fantastic co-host, Steve Harper. Steve, how's it going over there?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, it's so funny to me whenever we connect, we're like 7 hours time difference, but we're still on the same day. That always
Yeah,
amazes me.
yeah. But your day is over and mine is just beginning most of the time when we record these.
This is true. This is very, very true. So I'm excited for our episode today because this is our last in our series.
Yes.
Um, and would you like to share with everybody what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so we've been talking about questions that we all need to be asking, right? Questions every person should be asking. And this series has been a heck of a lot of fun. And what this final question, which I think is really a great one to finish up the series because it's so interesting, is how long is your now? This was a question that I think Asha you put on the table, and I'm really
Mhm.
curious about it because I want to hear how we frame this and how we
Right.
use it because it is not a question I can honestly say I've been asking, but I will be following this episode.
Well, I mean, you know what, Steve? Uh, this question has always been there for me. I would say always. I became more aware of it. You know how we always are saying like, okay, just for now, I need to be doing this. Just for now, I need to be taking time. And it's like, well, how long is that? Is that like 2 seconds? Is it like 2 weeks, 2 minutes? Like you have to define that for yourself. And that's why I think it's such an important thing to ask ourselves because sometimes we can sabotage ourselves into that now being 10 years, you know? Well, I mean, and I know that that's extreme, but seriously, think about some of the things that we hear people say or that we say ourselves. So, what is that? How long is your now? And do you have a different, time allotted for that? That's the way I view this question. So, Steve, whenever I ask you that question, what comes up for you immediately? Like, what's the
well,
first thing that you think about?
well, yeah, it's to me it was like when you first proposed it, it was like, well,
Uh-huh.
you can look at it in so many different ways. Like,
Right,
how committed are you, to the moment?
right,
How focused are you in trying to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish, building your business, finding your new career path, whatever that might be. The now thing is such an open-ended approach. It was really
it is.
interesting to me when you first put it on. I'm like, that's interesting because I do think that you have it. Without this, you don't really understand sort of what limits that you are maybe having put on you or that you're putting on yourself relative to
Right.
this. And so I think it's such an unusual question that it really gets you kind of thinking, right?
Mhm.
How does that look? We just talked about negativity in our last question,
Right.
right? Our last episode, and how long is that now of negativity? How long is that going to?
Exactly.
How long are you going to allow that to control your life or to keep you stuck in a particular relationship or circumstance? I think that there's all sorts of ways that you can kind of tie this in to look at it in very interesting ways.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I look at it as the now, how long are you willing to like back to the negativity example, right? If you and I know some people, I do know some people that actually allow themselves 2 minutes to just be as negative as they want to be, as whatever comes to their mind, whatever it is, and then after that they get over it and then they move on.
Hmm.
They move on. And I think it's important with certain things to allow ourselves, but to know what our limitations are or how much we're giving ourselves the time of the now. Because
Mm.
I have also seen people, I have dear friends that said to me 10, 15 years ago that they wanted to do certain things that they are still not doing, but they still are talking about, yeah, for just for now, I need to get clear. Just for now, I need to get, whatever, all my ducks in a row. And although I agree with that, you need to have clarity, you need to have intention, but when does the action come into play? And
Yeah.
if you're not too careful with it, your now will really extend on and on and on and on. And I mean, time goes by. Let's face it, time flies, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can either be having fun whenever it's flying by or not, like one
Yeah.
or the other. And I just feel like this is such an important thing that we need to be asking ourselves and, having that dialogue with ourselves of like, how much time? What is my now? How much time am I willing to sit on this in the same way? How much time am I willing to do that before I take, an action step to change it?
Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's one of those questions that I think if you're considering it, you start saying, what am I not doing? And,
Right,
why am I allowing myself to be stuck in this circumstance or this, negative
right,
relationship or this, this career path that I don't love or I don't get joy and fulfillment from. And,
exactly.
like you said, when thinking about, how you framed it with your friends that are, still contemplating doing something they wanted to do, 10 years
Yeah,
ago and still talking
exactly.
about it, that they're waiting for some set of circumstances to fall into alignment that'll never happen. And I
Right.
remember, one of the best pieces of advice, that I heard early on in my sort of my tech career, which is,
Mhm.
perfect is the enemy of good enough, right? You have
Mhm.
got to
Yeah,
start and you've got to push something out. You got to ship the product. You've got to take, that next step, whether people are going to be in support of it or not.
right.
And you have to start making something out of what you want. And otherwise it just
Yeah,
stays as an idea or stays on a erasable, like a whiteboard.
exactly.
It will be there, but you won't be the one taking advantage of it.
Right.
I remember kind of kind of one of these things that I played with as a startup idea for a while is I knew standing desks were starting to get popular, and one of
Mhm.
the things that I think is really cool is that you're standing on a desk. But I talked to a buddy of mine about this kind of skateboard idea, but it was not a
Mhm.
skateboard; it was actually on a bevel, and it was really
Okay.
designed to kind of help you with your balance.
Yeah.
Something I have a challenge with because I've got bad knees. And we even did like a prototype and we're like, nobody will care
Mhm.
about this, it'll be dumb. And then I see it on Shark Tank, like 3 to 5 years later, and now this is like the craze. It
Right.
certainly wasn't my idea, nobody stole it from me, but I could have taken
Yep.
advantage. I could have built that into a multi-million dollar business had I taken action. But I needed things right now to fall into place. I needed an extra 2 hours a day to work on it. I needed to figure out manufacturing and how it would work, and all those things just kept me stuck in neutral. And
Yeah,
now somebody else took the idea and ran with it, right? So those are the things that I think, just like your friends, that you talk about wanting something, but you don't take the action. Well, now is going to extend forever, and your now right
exactly.
now might not be all that great.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that that's really, I think it's an important thing because when we are it's about holding ourselves accountable for what it is that we really want. And over time, there's certain things that fall away that are just not that important to you, but there are some things that are you've got like this burning desire within you that you just really, really, really want to do. I mean, when you fast forward and think about what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want people to remember you by? Those are the things that are like burning within you that you really want to do. And if you're not doing them and you're just saying, oh, this circumstance needs to be this, I need more clarity, I need more this, I need more that. I mean, time is literally going to pass you by and
Hmm.
it may be one of your biggest regrets later on,
Yeah.
and do you want that? Asking yourself, do you really want that? So that's why I feel like this question is so very important. It has helped me really, shift my gears in so many different ways in my own personal and business life because I realized that, wait a second, I'm the only one that's holding myself back from certain things.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that. What's the point of that?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, where are you with your life and how happy
Right,
and satisfied are you with, part of this entire question series, right? Is to get you thinking
right,
about these things. And, if how you are investing your now right now does not float your
Mhm.
boat, you need to make some radical shifts in your life, and you need
Exactly.
to adjust your relationships. You need to find new ways to put great content in here so that you can start
Exactly.
considering a world of possibilities, not tomorrow, now, because now the
Exactly.
opportunity is for you to shift it. And just like with any life circumstance, the opportunity for you to shift everything quickly
Mhm.
is right there in front of you. It's just
It is.
most people will not do it.
Yeah, you know what? We have this idea that it's kind of sometime later, somewhere out there. But it's
Yep.
right here, right now. I mean, we can shift things. You know, I'm just thinking about a coaching client of mine who in the beginning when we started working together, he was always just like, yeah, but whenever this happens, in about 3 months time this will be ready. In about 6 months time. And I'm like, why not now?
Yeah.
Why not next week? Not 3 months from now. Why not next week? Can we just open up the way of thinking, And so now it's just really funny because some of the things that he wants to do, he wants it done like, in the next hour. And I'm like, okay, well that may be a little bit of a challenge. There may be some things that you need to do in order to make that happen, but it is about shifting that perspective of, our mindset in that way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So, it's a good question. I'm curious how people might perceive it because it's like
Right.
when you sent it to me, I'm like, wow, that's like really interesting, but I really don't know how I would ask it or how I would
Right.
answer it, right? But
Right.
the nice thing about it is it's kind of multifaceted in terms of how
It
you're
is.
applying it, and it does by order of this series is really designed to get you out of your comfort zone to really have that intense, important conversation with yourself to really consider, how would
Exactly.
I approach this? What would be my answer if Asha's sitting across the desk from me asking me this question? What do we want to do?
Right.
Right. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just it's an interesting perspective on so many levels.
Right. So I'm curious to hear from our listeners what they define as their now and what they think about actually all the questions in our series. I mean, this is the last episode in this series of our asking these questions, the questions
Yeah.
that you need to be asking yourselves. And I really would love to hear from them as well, Steve. I think we both love to hear from them. What kind of questions places?
Yep.
What exactly is it that helps them kind of, move along and progress and in their lives, in their personal and business life.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to hear it. We'd love to hear those questions. We'd love to hear
Mhm.
what you've taken from the other questions that we've had in this series, what you take from this particular one, because it's a unique and
Right.
different one. The best way to do that would be to join our Facebook group, obviously. Make
Mhm.
sure that you're on there. We do see all the comments and we respond. Also join our YouTube channel, Conversations with Asha and Steve. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell so that you get notifications every time we release an episode. And then, of course, if you're on the podcast platforms, we are grateful for that. We appreciate that. In fact, if
Mhm.
you'd be so inclined, drop us a review on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcast. Now I'm like, oh, that was old school right there. Anyway, Apple Podcast, because that actually helps get our episodes a little bit more, notoriety and attention on their platform. But we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you're taking from this, what you took from this series, what you've taken from these questions, how you're applying them. And then we'd also love to invite you to, offer up any other series suggestions that you might have for us, because we enjoy doing these where we can really drill in and be focused on a particular area for over a set number of episodes. And so we really appreciate your contributions in that regard as well.
Sounds great, Steve. Yeah, I look forward to hearing from people and I look forward to our next series.
Yep, absolutely. I look forward to it as well, as soon as we figure it out.
Exactly. As soon as we figure out what it is, we'll let you know.
All right, yeah. Our problem is we have so many ideas. That's the good thing.
I know.
Yeah. We'll be back again very soon with another new series and a new episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. But until then, Asha, take care.
Take care. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. We love to hear feedback and questions from our listeners. Please feel free to visit our Facebook page for more tips and information. You can also email us directly at info@ripplecentral.com for more information.